Now live. Hi everybody. Right, this is very strange. So I'm going to straight away. I'm going to turn the camera away. So this is we are no longer at Bower Chalk. We're outside the outside our back door. There's the bee shed, and here's a banker that I've set up. And an easel with a commission on it that is invisible. It's a memorial, so I haven't been able. I'm not going to show it on Instagram. And then we've got a couple of bits of stone here. One which is a memorial plaque, and one which is a small gravestone through there that we got ready to go. I'm going to hand you over to Tam. I'm going to hand you over to Tam, and she can.
Right. Here we go.
How's that?
Yep.
Pull the camera over a little bit, because it's.
Connecting. There we go.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. So this is a new. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing, so I'm going to grab hold of some chisels. So I'm always more comfortable with a couple of chisels in my hands. These, I wanted to say, one of the things that crossed my mind is most of these chisels were made by, I'm not being paid to say this at all, most of these chisels were made by John Parsons of JP Masonry Supplies. I buy most of my kit from him. He makes lovely chisels. And what I thought I'd do this morning, this afternoon, is to draw a letter and start cutting a letter. If there's anybody who've got any questions about this or anything like that, please just I don't know how it works that end, so text me or something. So you might not be able to see this if I do this from this angle. Can you see this?
Come over.
So I drew out the letters before. These are Roman letters, and I drew them out onto a piece of paper earlier, and then I transferred them down, which makes life easier. I know people who draw straight onto the stone, which I admire immensely. I think it's really and I've also met people who've been able to paint letters straight on. So paint letters straight onto the stone. This is as I said, this is a Roman letter. This is based on a brushed letter or a kind of calligraphic letter, so that weights on the letters are all to do with thicks and thins. So the best way to describe that is that if you have if you imagine this is the tip of your brush, the ends of the brushes, if you apply the brush to a material, and it's thick one way and thin the other way. So as you can see, it's kind of thick that way, and then it gets thin and then thick. So you have thin, thick, thin, thick. So it's as if it's a brushed letter. So it's kind of based on that, and they're really pleasing. And there's been a kind of real resurgence in calligraphic lettering and Roman lettering over the past kind of 30 years. So I've already ponced this down and rubbed it out so that it makes me look like I can draw a letter really well. And so I'm just gonna. So let's draw it. So you can see this will be the thick. it comes round to a thin. And these are little serifs here. And the serifs are interesting. There's kind of lots of speculation about why they exist. But if you've got a brushed letter kind of loaded with ink, if you apply it straight to a piece of paper or a stone, it goes blobby. Just the ink just spreads like that. Whereas if you kind of introduce the brush to the paper, it comes out with this really sharp edge. So not sure if I can remember how to do this. So yeah, it starts off like that, and then comes down like that. There you go. There's your. So like that, and then you turn the brush like that. And this is tricky because it comes from the. Actually, you draw a letter from the shoulder, and I'm not that well practiced. So in the end, you end up with this beautiful shape that kind of makes itself. There you go. So there's some theory about why the serif developed. Let's finish off drawing this S. And quite a few students come to their first class and they say, "Well, we want to do some lettering," and the truth of the matter is that this. Well, I don't know about. I mean, maybe some people take to it really naturally, but this, I think, is one of the most tricky skills to learn, and it's taken me a long time to get anywhere near. I mean, I've still got shed loads to learn about lettering. Okay. I'm not so keen on that S yet. I might play with it in the privacy when there's nobody looking. Redraw it later. So I'm going to I bought. Can you see this? I bought this pencil sharpener. I've always wanted one of these. It amuses me. I haven't bought I bought a few hand tools and from the workshop, and but I couldn't leave that behind. So, I mean, I'm sure most of you who are watching know, but at the workshop we make, we do stone carving classes and teach carving in the round, as well as lettering, and just mainly my aim is to help people make what they want to make. And I think we do okay at that a lot of the time. But the other things we do is we make memorials and take commissions for stonework. I mean, I used to do a lot of masonry, and I tend to avoid that if I could possibly help it now. But we've just got I've got to do a design for a bird bar. and a memorial this week. Well, I'll probably start early next week. Design for a memorial next week, and then I've got these 3 memorials to do. Now I've got this one that I've covered up because I'm reticent to show people's gravestones on the internet before I've asked permission and before they're in the ground. Right, let me cut an S. So this is a dummy, called a dummy. We use all sorts of hitting machines. So there's a dummy, that's a carving hammer, and then there's a couple of mallets here. I just put this the other day. I was just playing with it. It's a bit light for me, and I've had this for about 20 years, if not longer. And I really like this mallet. It's made out of polypropylene. It's made out of fenders from the side of a Weymouth lock, Weymouth key, and it's got a softer blow than the nylon ones, which are the white nylon ones which you can get. And that's quite nice to have a soft blow when you're carving, because you can cut longer. But what we're going to use, I use a dummy. This is a small, light dummy, and a tungsten tip chisel to cut letters. And I'm going to start rather than talk about it. So start going down the middle of the letter. Making a V cut. So I haven't actually done any lettering, cut any letters. I've been carving for the last few days. And sometimes it takes a while to get your eye in. And it's been quite stressful the last few days trying to get everything set up and everything changing, and so I've got to remember to let my shoulders drop and relax a bit. Hello, kitty. Hey, hey, puss. So at work I've got a pneumatic easel, which is beautiful. I mean, you can, it means everything's here, and that's much less It's less of a strain on the back, and you can also raise it and lower it so that I couldn't get it in the van. Use a smaller chisel for the thins, for the serif. Sure, there's loads I've missed in the weirdness of sending this out. But
So how do you make your own banker at home?
how? Okay, 24 concrete blocks. Create a banker that's about that waist high, and then get an old bit of carpet and stick that on top. It's probably your best bet. This banker is made out of a pallet and a box that my father-in-law had over the road. What did the box come with, Tam?
Slates, I think.
Can't remember. Bits of wood in it or something. And but a pile of pallets, if you can get one, that makes a really big bench, and you can eat your meal off the other end. But pretty much the best way I found to make a banker is to buy 25 concrete blocks, or any sturdy table. If you're a really sturdy table, you can use that. But the height is important, and waist high, about here, about this height is really important, because you want to not be leaning over the job, otherwise it will do your lower back in. And if you want to do some lettering, an easel is relatively straightforward. You could, with 3 bits of kind of 1x2, you can cramp it together into a kind of into a A-frame. Yeah, 1x2 and what do you call them? Kind of wood cramps. That works. But my Richard made me that easel, which is what I used for a long time before I got the pneumatic one, and that's kind of made out of heavy duty bits of oak, and I could put a full gravestone on it. And also what I found useful is to use ratchet straps to hold bits of stone back onto an easel, or you can use ratchet straps to hold a bit of stone down if it's a bit dinky, so you don't end up chasing it around the banker. Or use a breeze block or a concrete block to put the bit of stone up against, with a bit of carpet in between, so that again you're not, if you're using a small bit of stone, you're not chasing it around the bench. Cool. Hey Yvonne. you want to be live on YouTube or Instagram? Can you bring that closer, Lovely? Can you see it?
Sure. Yeah. Bring it closer.
So the angle's the same. Use the same angle. That way, that way. And so the narrower it is, the shallower it is. You don't change the angle of cut right the way through the letter, it's consistent.
What's the hardest letter to carve?
An S is pretty horrible. I know. An S is quite hard. Yes. I don't know. When you get into the groove of it, they're like little puzzles, and they kind of make themselves in the end. That might. What happens normally is that if I start an inscription, the first few letters are kind of nerve-wracking, especially as you get used to the material, because each material has its own kind of quality. So this is a bit of Portland. This is a bit of Nabracina, which is kind of it's a bit pluckier. It's a bit more brittle, but it's a kind of semi-polishable limestone. And a lot of memorials are made out of that. This Nabracina is what replaced a stone that's not quarried anymore called Hopton wood, that was very popular with letter cutters, especially in the Cambridge area. Like I think Eric Gill was fond of Hopton wood and made a load of carvings out of that and a load of lettering out of that. So it depends, and so you got to get to know the material, become familiar with the material. And so initially it's a bit kind of like hairy, because if you can't, you make a mistake, that's it, that's the end of it. So this is, normally I would come over the top, go down, but I don't think I can. Yes. Funny old. I hope this isn't like watching paint dry. Trying to find a word that I like, so I've written glorious. That's pretty, kind of pretty to look at. So not just a nice sentiment, because some words can hang together really beautifully, and other words are really tricky to make look nice. I mean. So you get an L and a kind of L and an E. So you can see the O, the L and the O. I've squeezed the L a little bit so that you can get the same kind of spacing here as here and as here. It's not absolutely spot on, but the spacing's not too bad. And you can, if you, I'm just trying to think of two words together that would kind of, you see, just imagine an L and a J. You know, there's a huge space in between. You have to kind of squeeze it and then balance the rest of the word with it. And you're not just dealing with the kind of distance between two letters. You're dealing with this kind of shape where this space and this space matter as well as this space. You know, so a guy called Tom Perkins, who does the most beautiful letters and lettering and compositions. He's got a system which he kind of, there's kind of the widths of the spacing, the widths of the letter. You know, he says, oh, you can dependent on the shape of the letter you have, that's so much distance. But a lot of it is about seeing what looks right and looks balanced.
Okay, when you lay out the lettering, are there any rules you can't break?
Are there any rules you can't break? Well, you just got to look okay. You know, you can break any rule you like, you know, as long as it looks right. Just some types of lettering look better than others. But it's all about balance in the word, in the composition, and you can do the most. You can do some quite interesting things and fill up space if you're doing kind of italicized calligraphic letters. You can fill space up with whirligigs. I forgot what they're called. Somebody must remind me what they're called. But you know, you can have an italicized letter, and then see if you have a kind of I don't know. So see if we can make this work. Kind of, you can fill up space. You know, a little G, and you can kind of fill space up, or you know, with an H, you can you can do all sorts of things. But this isn't my. I follow quite a lot of people on Instagram who are absolutely stunning letter cutters and make the most beautiful compositions, and I think that's and a lot of it comes from a calligraphic skill, especially if you're going to do kind of lowercase stuff like this. You know, you've got to know your how a pen or a brush. You're thick and you're thin, and then you're thick, and then that comes down there, and it would come down into a thin. Anyway, I want to rub that out. Don't like that. And that would just so. I've seen some nice drawings recently of people just doing kind of really kind of loose alphabets, just kind of drawing kind of very loosely, kind of having a piece of paper and then just splodging all these letters about, and some of them look really nice. There's a lot of energy in it, whereas with this composition is very formal. You know, there's not a lot of energy and movement, and you find with the penned letters and with the brush letters you can put you can still remain within the form and have a lot more kind of flow and energy within the composition or within the letter itself, which is a real an amazing skill. How long have we been doing this?
Half an hour.
Can we pack it in? There. Thank you for watching. What I might do is I'll carry on with this at some point, but I might set up a piece of stone and have a play at showing you some tool skills, and at some point, maybe next Friday at the same time, I'll put our heads together and see what we can do. But have a lovely day, and it's beautiful out. Thank you. Is that it?
Thanks for joining us, yes.
Oh yes, thanks for joining us. Cheers. Bye.